Welcome to our Moto Mouths. We are discussing taking care and so much more. We have engineer Ivan Chibuka, who is guide us through some of these topics. We have some very interesting topics today that pertain with safe driving mostly. You know, we are already in zone where we see a lot of people always come up with excuses, blaming the road, blaming the driver, blaming the car. But we all want to stay alive, and that is what we are here to talk about, how we can stay alive on these roads by driving safely or defensive driving, as it is technically known.
Yes.
Engineer.
Thank you very much, Alan, for the intro, a good intro. Once again, my name is Ivan Chibuka Chibuli, and I welcome all our viewers to Moto Mouths Uganda.
Yes, today, safe driving, we are looking at how does one adapt to the different road conditions? Because many times I usually hear about in the developed countries, when the conditions change, the seasons, people even change tires, they remove maybe snow tires, and with good weather, we tend to assume even the road conditions are going to be as good or always consistent, only to be surprised. And then we find either we are driving on a surface that has changed and we lose control. Most of our roads don't have any signs to warn us about the changing conditions. I have only seen on the expressway where they tell people to slow down when it has rained. And even then, people tend to ignore and just drive because they see a clear road and they feel they have a powerful machine that should show the power. Yes.
Yes, thank you very much. You've just reminded me, when you talked about power, you just reminded me of a signpost I used to see. I think there was a tire company that's selling tires, car tires, that had a big advert around the Electoral Commission on Ginger Road. They showed you a picture
Yes.
of a tire. Do you remember that advert on the road? And then they said, tire without control is nothing. If you have power, it has to be.
Yes.
It has to be controlled. I don't know if they still use it, but I remember seeing a big billboard somewhere in town. So it's very, when you have a very powerful car, but you cannot control it. For example, when road conditions change, it becomes the death trap. So we need to be aware of this, simply because a piece of paper says your Subaru has 200 horses, the equivalent of 200 horses under the bonnet. Doesn't mean you have to use all those 200 horses. Because if you go off a paved road, even on a paved road, you are in danger. But imagine you go off a paved road and suddenly, it may not even be weather. It may be a change in the road surface. You've been doing 100 on a tarmac road and you want to continue on what looks like a good Maram road, smooth, but you want to... Sorry, I seem to be suffering some internet connection. Can you get me now?
Yeah, there's been some sort of freezing here and there.
Yes, but I can hear you now.
Okay.
I still get intermittent indication that the internet connection is good. I hope we shall have less of that interruption. But to continue, please remind me, when did you lose me? At what point? What was I talking about?
You are talking about the condition of the road even when it is paved.
Yes. So you just changing the surface of the road on which you are driving without you, the driver, changing the mindset is bad enough. It's quite dangerous. In fact, that's how most people get into accidents. The other things, sometimes I suffer from, like, for example, sometimes when I leave the country, I go to other countries where they don't have border borders. I come back to Uganda, leave the airport. Sometimes
Did you
sorry?
excuse? Did you resume the recording?
Yes, it started automatically. Yeah.
Okay.
When the reconnection was made, I had the notification that it was going on. Yeah, it is recording. Now, I was, did you hear the part I was talking about when I returned to the country?
Yeah.
And yes. So now
The,
you get through, when you return to Entebbe, you drive through Chitoro. As you are living in Entebbe town, that's when you begin, if you've been away for a week, even for a week, even for a week, your brain forgets about border if you are in a country where they don't have a lot of them. So now you come back and then suddenly these guys are like fleas everywhere. You have to adapt the mindset again,
just
that once again, I'm in the border country. So you have to learn to adapt. I think I saw somewhere, I read somewhere where a study showed that a lot of accidents happen in the evening just after sunset.
Okay.
You have daylight, the sun sets, the driver fails to adjust. They continue in autopilot. They continue driving. If someone has been doing 120, they continue doing 120. Things have now changed. If you're driving at night, basically try to make sure you can stop in the distance that is covered by your headlights, because you can be surprised any moment. That's how we've lost so many people on our roads, because suddenly they see a lorry or some other obstacle coming up and they have no way of dodging, and they are surprised. Maybe they have even been, I don't want to say dozing, but their brain has kind of been switched off, half switched off, like they're on autopilot. Yeah, that's how people get surprised and end up in accidents. Today, we have other hazards like borders. They have now learned, they do so many things wrong. But now I have noticed, in the past, they used to be riding on the hard shoulder, so to say. And they would keep looking back to see if a vehicle is coming and stay on the hard shoulder, hardly coming in the road. Now, even in a road with 2 or 3 lanes, those guys can now come into the fastest lane. They do that. While we have been adjusting to that, now they have a new habit. If you are on a road with 2 lanes, 1 lane each way, you have opposing traffic coming towards you. You have a clear way in your direction, but there is a border behind a truck or another car that is coming in your direction, in the opposite direction. These guys just swerve. They come up behind that vehicle very fast, and then as they get to it, they swerve to avoid that vehicle, to overtake that vehicle, without checking that you are there. So now it is up to you now when you see them. They just enter the road like a god, like, I don't want to call them gods, but I'm sorry, what they are doing is not different from what a chicken or a goat would do. They just zoom out of nowhere, and they are not willing to stop. In any case, they don't have any space to stop. The speed they are going at is ridiculous. They have wide loads, some loads as wide as a full vehicle, and they are not taking this into consideration. And you, the driver now coming from the opposite direction, we call it kwebereramu. Kati olina okwebereramu. At any moment, just know you may have suddenly you may have opposing traffic in form of a rowdy border coming at you. There are other drivers, of course, for vehicles.
Yes.
People who think they are important, they do the same thing. Government vehicles, guys, I don't know what's wrong with you. I don't know why you think you have a priority over the other drivers who are actually taxpayers. I just don't get it. Yeah, so
yes, going back to the road surfaces.
Yes.
Going back to the road surfaces,
Yes.
sometimes when you're on the highway,
Mm.
you have different types of tarmac. There
Oh,
is
yes,
that one
yes.
which is very smooth,
That is
probably
called
made from very small stones.
It's
Then
called
there is the one which
premix.
has
The smooth one is called premix. If I remember my engineering well, they call it premix. It's mixed. Then it is poured on the surface and rolled and pressed on the road. Then there's the rough one, I think, which you are talking about, where they lay tar and then put the aggregate, the stone, so that the tar, when the tar hardens, it holds the stones. It holds the aggregates. That's a
which
bit
has
rougher.
big stone.
And then there is also concrete. There's
So
also
you
concrete.
tend to find with the premix, I am assuming it is harder for brakes to work as efficiently as on the rougher surface. So someone may skid off the northern bypass or the expressway, but if they are going to Karamoja, somehow the road is a bit rougher. And I am basic physics that when the road surface is rougher, the car may stop faster than if it is that smooth surface that is common in closer to towns.
The road surface is smoother with the premix. I am not very sure whether it is the friction, the forces of friction are much different between the rougher tarmac that we used to have and then the premix. What I see on Ugandan road right now, they are doing more of the premix. Most of the roads that are being done, the new ones, and the old ones, when they are being redone, they are using premix. Unless funds are a big issue, they no longer do the old rougher, what you are calling the rougher style of tarmac much. So now that brings me to the fact that we now have to learn to drive on these perceived, what you are perceiving as smoother roads. I will need to do some research to confirm. I doubt they will change the surface. They would change the type of surface and ignore the fact that what sounds, when you are driving, what sounds like a smoother surface has less friction. There may be an element in this when it is wet. Because when it is wet, what the tire has to do is to get the water out of the way and then grip the surface. On a smoother surface, that may be harder to achieve. Whereas on a rougher surface, the water has a path between the aggregate to go away. So I think you may be right when it comes to adverse weather like rain. It may be a factor that the friction is less, but I doubt they will go ahead and resurface a lot of roads using that premix when it is no good friction-wise. It may be the friction may be less when it rains. I know that for sure because the way tires work, that's why you see them with the treads, is to get water away from the surface, from the rubber surface. But still, even with that road which you are considering to be rough, you are going to have loss of friction between rain and no rain conditions. So when it rains, it doesn't matter the road surface. Just slow down. In any case, you have lost vision. You cannot see very far.
Speaking about the rain, you versed with the type of roads we have. You have already crammed, and I've experienced this on our famous road, Masaka Chotera. You have already crammed where the potholes are. Then when it rains, it evens out the road. So now you don't know where the pothole is. You are just hit by surprises.
Yeah, I know what you mean. It's like
sometimes like, because also of the again on that same road, what I experienced one time when I was going there is that being in a small car, the big trucks would hit the pothole and suddenly your windscreen is covered by mud, so you can't see.
Yes.
And you have to stop and use your wipers, but now they are also wiping stones on the screen. The whole situation is a mess.
I'm sorry to laugh, but
I want you to comment on those two conditions: the road surface becoming unpredictable because of the rain, and also the road surface becoming unpredictable because of construction works. Usually, when they are working, sometimes you find the stones are, or they have dug diversions that are not well marked, or there are always all sorts of dangers lurking. The road is under construction. What should the driver?
You are very right. And have you noticed that even with a good road, tarmac road, at night when it has rained, it is harder for you to see the road, the surface. I think there's a reflective element of the constituents of what they use to build the road. The premix or the tarmac is a bit reflective. When it rains, the reflective element is lost. So you have the headlights, but it's as if they are flashing into the darkness. So sometimes you cannot even see very well. And our roads, they are very, very poorly marked. You can have the same element in countries where they have good roads, but usually because they are marked well, it's not very bad. But going back to being surprised by when it rains, if there have been potholes, they are going to be covered by water, and you are not going to see them. Even during the time, they will hit you. That's very bad. That's more reason for you to slow down. And then there is nothing more I can say about that situation. The bottom line is slow down. I can't advise you beyond that. Either slow down or stop. If you can, and also don't park just by the side of the road because you can be hit from behind. Find a safe position. If you can't proceed, you have to wait for the rain, get off the road, far away from the road, so that you are not run over. Now, the other
trick would be if you are on such a road, on top of slow, find one to follow, because you will see that person falling in the potholes and you'll know, maybe I should not go that side. I should go the opposite side.
You are using the driver ahead of you as a guinea pig, but it can work. But now, if they have the same mindset as you, they will drive so slowly that you have to overtake them. Now you become the guinea pig. Now we have a chiruma. Now
There will always
chiruma.
be a fool who
And then
will care.
there is the other danger that he may miss a pothole by just an inch. And for you, that inch gets you. So that's also another danger. And it also means if they suddenly, like, for example, if there is a steep bank, if they went in, if you cannot stop quickly enough, it means you can follow them. But yeah, survival skills call for such things. Yeah, you can try that. But going back to when you get splashed by dirty water or mud by the other vehicle, it has happened to me a few times, but I believe the best way to do is the best way to manage is not to make any sudden steering inputs. If you've been going straight, continue going straight for a few seconds. If your wipers have been on, the mud will be cleared somewhat. Not all of it may be removed, but it may be cleared enough for you to begin to regain visual contact with the road. Now, you just, I don't know if that is clear. Bottom line is
Yes.
try to continue in the straight line. Don't make a new inputs out of panic, because you might now either end off the road or end up crashing into another vehicle. You've reminded me of a time I'd just come back from Kampala and I was trying to get to grips with driving. I told you before, I bought a vehicle and I couldn't drive it for 5 months because of the madness I was seeing around our road. Now, I started by driving in the evening, going to parties in the evening and on weekends when there are less vehicles on the road, until my brain got used to driving on this madness again. Now, on one such evening, you remember the days when the road in Old Kampala, the one that passes in front of the police station, was so rough, around 2006, was so rough. So now, I'm driving coming from Bakuli, going towards the Makerere. So right in front of the police station is a series of big potholes. Now there is a young man with a bicycle. You know these guys who ride bikes for, basically they carry luggage mostly, and they are paid. Sometimes they carry passengers, but most of them they carry heavy luggage. But now he did not have any luggage or passenger on the vehicle. Now he comes, he's going very fast, and because he's riding a bicycle, for him he can maneuver past me because I had slowed down for the potholes. Now, while he was passing me, I had the window was down. He hooted, they have that car horn over there. Yeah, very loudly. And then he got in front of me and started doing funny signs, like he was enjoying himself. But I was frustrated because of the potholes. And then this guy comes, makes noise, and then tries to make fun of my situation when he got in front of it. It is about 8 or 9 o'clock. It was dark at night. So a thought occurred to me, what I did. I don't know whether I should share this, but what I did, I switched off I reasoned this guy does not have headlights. Now he has got in front of me. He's enjoying my headlights to dodge the potholes, and then he's having a piece. So I switched off the headlights for a moment, for a second or two, and I also brake. I came nearly to a stop. So I switched the lights on again. Oh, I think we even had load shedding. There was no electricity. Even if there is, we don't normally have street lighting. In those days, at least, there was no street lighting. The poor guy had landed in the middle of some pothole. And he was now, he was trying to get up. I think he had got some bruises, a few bruises. And the bicycle, the tire was still doing that. I realized now he may hit the vehicle. So what I did, I went around him and I tried to quickly disappear, and I disappeared. But the reason I broke this out is like in the case of this guy, he did not realize that one moment he can be seeing the road surface very well. Another moment, the next second, he did not know where he was ending up, and maybe he panicked and tried to change direction, something like that. But I'm sorry, whoever it was is watching, I'm sorry about that incident. I don't know if other people were that naughty, but I was also a bit annoyed on the day. But this is an example of how you can suddenly lose visibility and then you end up in an accident. In this case, it was this guy. But in other cases, it can be you, the driver, when you get splashed with the mud. So yeah, when you're driving, if that happens to you, don't don't panic. Keep going straight. Then get the wipers, if they are not already activated, get them to do the job for you. And this again, I hope, is something that you are going to go through as you are driving slowly. This is more reason of why you should be driving slowly as the road conditions change. The road conditions are changing constantly. Your mindset while you're on the road should also be adapting accordingly.
Briefly about the road construction, say something about that.
Yes, especially when it is raining, you can no longer see. They have improved a bit now with the signage. Most projects have improved with that, but I've heard or seen car wrecks where people have lost their lives because of those roadworks. You come to, especially when they are building, say, a small bridge or what they call culverts, where they make a temporary road surface. Yes, so you go around that diversion and continue on your way. That one is very dangerous. The only thing I can say, it can catch almost anyone, even the most experienced driver. Again, slowing down helps, but on this one, I urge the contractors that are doing the roads. I can see they have improved generally on this. I urge you to keep that up. When you are going through roadworks, I've seen people driving, they put signage that through those roadworks, don't do more than 30, 40 kilometers an hour. I see guys doing 70, 80 through those roadworks. There is a reason. There is a reason why such speed limits are put in place. I think the enforcement is weak on this, because if there was good enforcement, we wouldn't be losing lives. This is one thing. I think you are right to keep on emphasizing it. This is one of the locations, and it has not killed only passengers in vehicles, but even motorcycle riders. I think it actually gets the borders more. They go off, and sometimes they even flood. Have you seen the Kampala floods? When it floods and people insist on driving through the floods and they end up in ditches and drown. Yeah, that one I can't emphasize. I can't emphasize beyond just having the contractors put up the signage. And sometimes these days they've tried, they even put people who tell you to slow down, but you see people disregard the instructions. People appear to think that those guys are there to waste their time, especially boda. You guys, I think you are, I'm sorry, I have to pick on you, but it's because you are the worst guys on the road now. You remember we used to have a hierarchy that taxi drivers are the worst, then followed by lorry, truck drivers, then there was the my cars before the borders came. Things now changed. The borders are now on top of bad driving habits. I think now followed by private vehicle owners or drivers. I think the taxi guys have lost their position too. This is my car. My car these days, you guys are bad news. Generally, I'm sorry to say. Yeah, thank you very much.
So we have about 8 minutes to conclude.
Yeah,
Please
yes.
check out this issue of fuel economy, manual transmission versus which one do you think performs in which way when it comes to fuel consumption?
Economy.
Our
Yeah.
economy, the way is up,
Yeah.
we have to think about the pocket and the fuel. Yes.
Yeah. I think in the past, when the technology in the cars wasn't as good as it is today, I think if the driver was good, I think generally manual transmissions were more efficient, more you got better fuel economy with manual transmission than the automatics. The automatics, especially because now they have put computers in them, they've learned to I'm trying to look for the correct word to change gears. The system changes gears, right? They have optimized the gear changes, the right RPM, the right power that is required by the driver. They have optimized how they operate very well. So before, automatics were losing out on fuel efficiency mostly because of the requirement, because of the way the inside of the transmission, because of the way the transmissions work, there is some loss because it is actually fluid which is being caused to turn to create the power. The power was being transmitted through a mechanical, a metal. The input was metallic. Then you have a liquid in between. Then the output is also metallic. So in the liquid part of the transmission, you have some losses, inherent losses. That's the design. So yes, it is true that it would introduce, say, between 10 to 20% inefficiency in the system. But like I said, they are for the automatic system that that operates the normal way. They've improved that because of the set points at which the gears change. But now they are now using automatic transmission that have what they call CVT technology, continuously variable transmission. In this one, you can have the engine, depending on how hard you are pressing the accelerator pedal, the computer can decide that, yeah, you want some power, and then it will raise the RPM and hold it there, and then start changing the gear. It operates very much like an electric motor would. And CVTs internally, if you look at them, if you've operated a bicycle, a mountain bike with very, very many gears, like 18 gears, you realize that the gears next to the pedal, when you need more power to go up a hill, the thing keeps jumping to a smaller pulley. And then the reverse happens in the back. The chain jumps to the bigger pulley. And then they reverse positions as you are speeding up. So the CVT is compressed. It's a compressed version of that system. It also has a chain inside. As the front, the primary is enlarging, the secondary is reducing, and vice versa to change the gear. So CVTs are actually quite very efficient. So for automatic transmission that are the CVT types, the continuously variable types, a manual transmission, the normal manual transmission stick shift cannot beat the CVT on efficiency. So yeah, and they have become very common now. Almost every other car now, majority of cars now below 3.5 liter petrol engine size, they have CVTs now installed. So yeah, automatics have now become quite efficient. So that argument of manual, because in the past in the past we used to argue that manual is more efficient than automatic. No, I don't think that is the case anymore, especially with CVTs. Yes, thank you very much.
Thank you for all the guidance you've given us, all the tips. These topics are very interesting, and it looks like there is so much to learn. We shall also be getting topic comments because our viewers also have a lot of questions that they want to ask about and everything that is related. Thank you so much.
Thank you too, Alan, and have a good day.